Failure is not the end of you. It is the final test to prove whether you truly deserve what you desire.
Have you ever stopped to think that maybe what you call failure is actually a silent warning that you are much closer to success than you realize? What if I told you that giving up now would be the same as leaving the queue seconds before being called? Most people believe that those who fail are weak. But what if it's the opposite? What if failure is actually a sign of strength, of movement? What are you daring where others don't even try? Napoleon Hill said that each defeat carries within it the seed of an even greater benefit. But almost no one has the courage to dig deep enough to find this seed. The truth is, failure is not the end. It is a code that only the determined can decipher. And whoever learns to decipher it not only wins, it transforms their own lives. You will realize with every word of this video that those who shone the most in life were precisely those who fell the most, but who also got up the most. They understood something that few understand, that the world rewards the stubborn, the resilient, those who persist even without strength, even without applause, because life doesn't give a trophy to those who try. It rewards those who persist until the end. And if you're here now, it's because something inside you hasn't given up yet, because you know you deserve more. What can more? Who was born to win? And throughout this video, you will discover that failure doesn't take you away from success. It brings you closer. You just need to know how to see with the right eyes. So, take advantage now and subscribe to the channel here. This is very important so that you receive all the next videos and continue on this path of personal growth, professional development, and mental reprogramming. It's a simple step, but it can keep you connected to life-changing content like this. How many times have people heard about success without considering the weight of defeats along the way? Well, personal growth does not happen in a straight, easy and predictable line. In fact, if someone pays close attention, they will notice that the most inspiring trajectories have one thing in common. They are marked by failures. Even Napoleon Hill, known for his profound teachings on the power of the mind and the success mindset, does not fail to emphasize this point clearly. For Hill, failure is not the opposite of success. On the contrary, it is an integral part of personal development, a fundamental piece in the puzzle of self-improvement. Failure is not pleasant, of course. No one likes to feel like they have failed. But it is precisely in this uncomfortable feeling that lies immense potential for positive change. Therefore, a defeat cannot be seen as a definitive sentence, but rather as a phase that needs to be crossed. The people we most admire for their abundance and wealth almost always have stories of incredible stumbles before reaching full realization. They learned to transform negative thinking into powerful learning and discovered how to manifest bigger dreams exactly in times of greatest difficulty. This is not by chance, but because they have developed an incredible ability, redefining each fall to continue advancing towards their goal. You see, if you look at names like Thomas Edison or Walt Disney, you'll quickly notice the pattern. Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Disney was fired for lack of creativity. But the difference is in perspective. These men understood that each failure was just a step on the path to professional development, and they did not allow themselves to be shaken by limiting beliefs. And if they managed to turn colossal failures into brilliant legacies, what is the true potential hidden in each of us? But here comes the big question. How not to let difficult times overcome you? First, a person needs to deeply understand that failure does not define who they are. In reality, it is precisely when everything seems to be going wrong that the greatest opportunities arise to manifest what you want. Self-help is not just about positive thinking. It's having the courage to face the falls and keep walking even when everything seems lost. Realizing that a fall is not the end, but a redirection, is a vital step. Imagine that each failure is like a road sign indicating that the chosen route needs adjustment. Those who have genuine motivation know that this is a sign that they are closer, not further, to their goal. After all, you only discover the right path after clearly recognizing where you should no longer tread. And it is precisely at this point that the question remains that few have the courage to answer. What does it really mean to fail? Couldn't failure secretly be the great secret of those who have achieved true prosperity and fulfillment? The truth is that in the end, the biggest winners are not those who never fell, but rather those who learn to get up in increasingly more effective ways. And here is a powerful reflection. What then will be the real role of failure in the path of those who seek greatness? You know that moment when everything seems to fall apart? Because that's exactly where the universe is, testing your true faith. Napoleon Hill often said that personal growth happens precisely when everything seems lost, when certainties dissolve, and the person needs to trust the power of the mind to move forward. It sounds strange to say, but temporary failure is actually a powerful test of persistence and your success mindset. Imagine that someone is trying to get rich, investing time and energy in a personal project. This person has already studied a lot about self-help and personal development, and believes they are applying everything correctly. Still, something goes wrong. What she does at that moment is decisive. Many people give up right then, allowing limiting beliefs to take control and negative thinking to prevail. But there is a secret behind this moment of doubt, a teaching hidden in the pain. This temporary failure appears as a kind of spiritual sieve, a filter that separates those who really believe in themselves from those who only say they do. Professional, emotional, and spiritual development happens exactly when, even in the face of difficulties, a person chooses to persist. Those who have a successful mindset know this and recognize adversity as an invitation to self-improvement and the mental reprogramming necessary to achieve abundance. And here's something practical that anyone can apply. At the exact moment when discouragement knocks at the door, the best action is to stop, take a deep breath, and remember previous moments where it seemed impossible to move forward, but the situation ended up being resolved. This is exactly when it is important to mentally say positive affirmations about your potential and worth. Also, remember to leave your like and subscribe to the channel here, as this really helps to bring this transformative message to more people. Temporary failure doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. On the contrary, it is the strongest proof that you are moving towards something great. Perhaps the universe is adjusting its course, perhaps it is testing your ability to manifest. The important thing is not to let these small setbacks distract you from your greater purpose. It is a true act of faith to persist when everything indicates giving up. In practice, genuine faith manifests itself by continuing to work on the dream, even if no one else believes in it. True motivation comes when you can clearly visualize your ultimate goal, despite your current circumstances. This isn't just empty wishful thinking. It's having a deep conviction that there is something valuable right after this challenging step. Great winners have learned this lesson very well. Insisting when no one else believes is the secret to manifesting personal miracles. But here's a thought-provoking reflection. Did all the people who won go through similar tests? Does life choose precisely these moments to separate those who truly deserve abundance and wealth from those who are not yet prepared to receive it? So, what is the true nature of these challenges that life so insistently presents? You know those incredible stories that leave everyone impressed? Well, they have something curious in common. They usually start with gigantic failures. That's right. Before any manifestation of success, extraordinary people faced moments when everything seemed lost. Napoleon Hill always highlighted this truth when talking about personal growth and a success mindset. And you want to know? History proves that he was absolutely right. Look, for example, at the case of Abraham Lincoln. Many know him as the great American president who abolished slavery. But few know that, before achieving this historic feat, Lincoln faced repeated failures. He lost numerous elections, went bankrupt in business, and suffered devastating personal defeats. But each setback was just a stepping stone in his personal development, eventually taking him to the top. Another inspiring story is that of J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She went through an extremely difficult phase, unemployed and facing several editorial rejections. If he had allowed limiting beliefs to dominate his mind at that time, he would never have experienced the abundance and wealth resulting from the worldwide phenomenon that his work has become. Persistence was the big secret to her success, converting negative thinking into fuel for a winning mentality. Also think about Steve Jobs. He, who revolutionized technology and the business world, was fired from the very company he founded. For many, that could have been the end. But Jobs saw failure as a unique opportunity for self-improvement and mental reprogramming. His temporary departure from Apple was precisely the period that generated the creative energy necessary for his greatest return, bringing innovative products to the world that changed the lives of millions. These examples are not just there for admiration, but to teach something valuable. Every temporary failure contains the seed of a much greater victory. These personalities had something special in common. They deeply understood the power of the mind. They knew how to use defeats as leverage, instead of allowing them to become barriers. And it is exactly this understanding that you can adopt for yourself today, transforming each challenge into an opportunity to manifest your best potential. Imagine now what your life would be like if you started to see each failure not as an end, but as a beginning. Professional and personal development takes on a new dimension when this is understood deeply. If such inspiring people manage to turn dark moments into great victories, what stops you from doing the same? The truth is, absolutely nothing except your own self-imposed limitations. And if these historical examples show us something crucial, the intriguing question remains: what exactly makes some people use difficulties to rise, while others lose themselves in defeat? Is there a secret formula that differentiates those who overcome and those who give in to failure? Well, maybe there is something hidden in these stories that you haven't yet clearly understood. The truth is that no one likes to fall. No one wants to stumble or face failure. However, one thing is certain: when a fall is inevitable, it remains. To choose whether it will be just a bruise or a powerful strategic lesson. Napoleon Hill always highlighted that falls have something incredible to teach about personal growth, if only someone knows how to look at them with the right eyes. And after all, what is the right way to look at these inevitable falls? The first step to turning a failure into a powerful personal development tool is taking responsibility for it. It's not about blaming others, nor about punishing yourself severely. It's just about accepting that the result, even if not desired, arose from the actions taken. From then on, the person begins to realize that they have total control over their next step, something essential for nurturing a successful mindset and leaving limiting beliefs behind. But how exactly can one apply this in practice? Simple. As soon as a person faces defeat, they must immediately record what happened. You can take a notebook, for example, and do a simple analysis with 2 columns. In the first, list what went wrong. In the second, what could have been done differently. This simple exercise is an effective mental reprogramming technique, capable of transforming any mistake into valuable and strategic learning. Here it is important to remember that success, according to Napoleon Hill, is a direct result of rigorous self-discipline in learning from one's mistakes. And speaking of which, if this video is helping you better understand how to manifest the life you want, enjoy it and leave a like right now, in addition to subscribing here to the channel. This is very important for the growth of our community, and for you to always follow new transformative content. Continuing, each failure carries, hidden in its depths, a precious jewel, the perfect opportunity to sharpen your strategies. Just like a chess player who loses a game, you can review each wrong move and discover ways to significantly improve next time. By turning every stumble into a valuable experience, you are literally setting yourself up to create abundance and wealth in every aspect of life. But make no mistake, it takes courage and humility to face mistakes like great teachers. Many people end up trapped in a vicious circle of negative thinking, simply because they cannot accept failure as part of their professional and emotional development. Therefore, if someone really wants to get rich or achieve a true manifestation of dreams, they must first learn to transform each fall into a strategic lesson. And here is an intriguing reflection. Is it possible that the greatest masters, those who changed the history of humanity, have not really discovered anything other than how to make the most of each defeat in a strategic and intelligent way? And you? Have you ever stopped to think about what you could do with all your failures? If you could learn something profoundly transformative from them. One of the most dangerous mistakes someone can make when facing failure is believing that it defines who they are. This happens silently, almost imperceptibly. A mistake here, a loss there, and when you realize it, your mind is already poisoned by limiting beliefs, identifying yourself as someone who was not born for this. And that's where the real danger sets in, when a person stops believing in the power of the mind to create a new reality. Napoleon Hill vehemently warned about this type of mental trap. For him, identifying with failure is like wearing clothes that never belonged to him, and worse, refusing to take them off. Personal development requires courage to shed this identity built on falls, because failure, however painful it may be, is an event. It's not a title, it's not a name, and it's certainly not a destination. Let's be honest. How many times have you seen someone brilliant stop halfway because they believed they weren't good enough? The mind, when misdirected, creates an invisible prison, where negative thinking dominates and prevents any form of positive manifestation. Therefore, mental reprogramming becomes a fundamental step in this healing and reconstruction process. To avoid this internal collapse, a practical exercise can help. Every time a self-deprecating thought arises, the person should immediately replace it with an affirmation of power. For example, "I'm a failure" becomes, "I'm learning with every step, and it's making me stronger." This type of simple but continuous practice changes mental connections, strengthening emotional self-discipline, and creating space for a new mindset of success. The mistake is in thinking that failure is a mirror, when, in fact, it is just a passing reflection. You are not your mistake. You are what you do with it. And this distinction changes everything. It changes the way you get up, how you look at life, how you decide to act. This type of clarity allows the person to walk again with strength and confidence, rescuing the motivation that seemed lost. What's more, when you stop identifying with failure, you automatically start identifying with possibility, with the potential, with abundance. This opens doors. This invites opportunities. This makes the universe respond. Professional and personal development flourishes when the mind lets go of the shame of failure and embraces the learning it offers. Now think carefully. Is the only real obstacle between you and the life you want is how you see yourself after something goes wrong? Could it be that by changing this vision, wouldn't everything around you begin, little by little, to change too? When the pain hits, the ground disappears and the mind begins to dive into a whirlwind of negative thoughts. That's where the real battle comes in, the emotional one. It doesn't matter how much theory someone knows about personal growth or a success mindset. If the emotional foundation is fragile, nothing holds up. Napoleon Hill knew this and taught that controlling emotions was one of the most important keys to manifestation and self-improvement. The first step to getting back on your feet emotionally is to interrupt the cycle of suffering. This doesn't mean ignoring pain, much less pretending it doesn't exist. It means accepting what you feel, but refusing to feed what makes you sick. A powerful technique for this is the use of conscious breathing. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Repeat this for a few minutes. This simple practice calms the mind, slows down negative thinking, and gives you back control. Another indispensable tool is therapeutic writing. Taking paper and pen and letting out everything that is trapped inside is liberating. Write as if you are speaking to your higher self, the wise future version of you, the one who has already overcome what you are facing. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? And let the answer come with sincerity. This activates mental reprogramming and accelerates personal development. You can also strengthen your emotional energy with affirmations. Repeat every day. I am resilient. My inner strength is greater than any obstacle. I rebuild myself with wisdom. By speaking these phrases with intention and presence, you are shaping your reality through the power of the mind. And don't forget, you who are watching, if this makes sense to you, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. This helps us continue producing content that empowers you. Another technique that few people know about, but which transforms emotional vibration almost immediately, is the energy bath with warm water and coarse salt. At the end of the day, go to the shower and imagine all the negative emotional charge running down the drain. Visualize the sadness, the guilt, the fear, all going away. Then, say thank you out loud for something, even if small. This activates the feeling of gratitude, which is one of the pillars of manifestation and abundance. Seeking support is also part of the process, and I'm not just talking about therapy, which is excellent, but also about real connections, about people who really listen to you and understand you. Talking to someone who vibrates at the same frequency is like taking a healing bath, an exchange of energy that renews and inspires. Often, what we need is just to hear from someone who has already been through it. It will pass, and you will come out better than when you came in. Finally, understand, recovering yourself emotionally is not going back to what you were before. It is to be reborn stronger, clearer, more conscious. It's rescuing your deepest motivation and remembering who you really are, a being capable of enriching not just your wallet, but your soul. But what if failure is not only a chance to rise again, but also a call to completely change direction? Not every stumble is a sign that something has gone wrong. Sometimes it's exactly the opposite. The universe is trying to tell you, subtly, or even brutally, that you've gone off your axis, that you've lost alignment with what really matters. Napoleon Hill was always emphatic in stating that failures are often invisible pushes, invitations to redirect the route and rediscover the purpose. And when this realignment happens, life begins to flow at a different frequency. How many times does someone insist on something that deep down no longer makes sense? A project that no longer vibrates, a relationship that sucks more than it adds, a job that no longer reflects the inner mission. The mind tries to force it, but the heart no longer responds, and then failure arrives, not as a punishment but as a warning. Personal growth depends on the courage to interpret this message and make the necessary adjustments, even if it hurts. Imagine, for example, a person who tries to open a business just for the money. She invests time, resources, expectations, and fails. She could see this as an end. But if you are emotionally mature, you will realize that perhaps the real mistake was ignoring your essence, your natural talents, your real motivation. Failure then stops being the villain and becomes the greatest mentor that person has ever had. A stern, but fair mentor. Mental reprogramming begins at this point, when the person understands that manifesting what they want is not just about doing a lot, but about doing it with alignment. Positive thinking without internal truth becomes an illusion. The power of the mind is only fully activated when the body, emotion, intention, and action are in the same tune. When this happens, abundance stops being a distant dream and becomes something inevitable. Reflect. What if everything that seemed to go wrong so far was, in fact, the universe pushing you in the exact direction of your mission? What if failure is a spiritual GPS telling you, not here, but there? Hill said that to truly get rich, you need more than goals. You need direction with purpose. This changes everything. Changes the plan, changes the frequency, changes life. A great exercise to apply this is to write 3 questions on paper. What is this trying to show me? What do I need to leave behind? What do I really want to align myself with from now on? And respond honestly. By C. Doing this, you not only find clarity, but you also activate a new vibration. And everything you manifest is part of this new inner frequency. But then comes the mystery. Why is it that only a few are able to interpret failure as a sign of realignment, while so many others wallow in it without realizing the hidden gift? Is there a secret code that only those who persist can decipher? Napoleon Hill did not see resilience as a simple emotional skill, but as a spiritual strength. For him, being resilient meant proving to the universe and to himself that nothing, absolutely nothing, is capable of putting out the inner fire of those who have a true purpose. His words, written almost a century ago, still resonate powerfully. Failure only defeats those who give up. And this is where true personal development begins. Hill observed, throughout his research with the most successful men of his time, that they all had something in common. They didn't give up on the first, second, or 10th try. They fell and got up with even more conviction. This didn't happen by chance. The basis of this strength was the unshakable belief in the power of the mind, and the certainty that persistence is a spiritual law that precedes any material manifestation. To develop this resilience, Hill proposed a powerful exercise. Every day, visualize in great detail your goal that you have already achieved. See yourself with the life you want, with the right people, with an overflowing bank account, with perfect health. This visualization, done with emotion and constancy, reprograms your mind and conditions you to think, act, and resist like someone who has already won, even when everything still says otherwise. Another strong lesson from Hill is about not expecting approval from others. He said that many fail because they give up too soon, just because the world didn't applaud on the first attempt. True motivation does not depend on applause, likes, or anyone validating your path. It comes from within, fueled by a success mindset, and the unshakable faith that each fall is shaping the strongest version of yourself. Hill also insisted on self-discipline as an ally of resilience. He stated that success loves constancy, and constancy requires discipline. It's waking up early, When the world sleeps, it's continuing to study when no one else is looking. It's acting with excellence even when no one is recognizing you. This type of attitude doesn't just build results. It transforms your identity. And if life has given you a series of failures, maybe it's because it's waiting for you to prove that you're not just anyone, that you deserve abundance, wealth, purpose, that you are prepared. Resilience at this point becomes more than resistance. It becomes a sign of merit, in universal language that says, I will not stop. And the universe always responds to this. But the most enigmatic thing about Hill's teachings is that he believed that resilience not only changes destiny, but also reveals who you really are. And then the question arises that few dare to ask, who are you when everything falls apart? Because perhaps the answer to that question will reveal a power you never knew you possessed. One of the most silent and cruel tests in life is to continue walking without an audience, without likes, without recognition. Continue even when no one notices the effort, even when the world seems more interested in pointing out mistakes than in celebrating small advances. Napoleon Hill knew this reality well and taught that true personal growth happens behind the scenes, far from the applause, in the silence of daily choices. Most people only act enthusiastically when they have an audience. But the great ones, those who truly have an extraordinary life, develop something much rarer, the ability to motivate themselves internally. They know that true motivation comes from within. It does not depend on external validation. And that requires a razor-sharp success mindset, fueled by self-discipline and constant mental reprogramming. Imagine someone who is struggling to get out of debt, build a business, change careers. The results still don't appear. The comments are harsh and the doors seem closed. This is where many give up. But those who understand the power of the mind continue. Study more, works better, take care of energy, and little by little, like magic, or rather, like a manifestation, everything starts to move. Because life tests those it will reward most. Napoleon Hill said that real faith is walking in the dark with the certainty that there is ground. This is not an illusion, but a vision. The person who persists even without recognition is, in fact, aligning their frequency with abundance. And this frequency only responds to constancy. You don't get rich just because you want to. You become rich because you become someone who vibrates like someone who is already rich. And this is only built in silence. Therefore, self-improvement is often a lonely job. It's you with yourself. It's waking up early when no one is watching. It's studying while others sleep. It's acting with excellence when no one is watching. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you steadfast. And believe me, the universe does not ignore those who work in silence. He just prepares something equal to what is being built in secret. Want a practical tip? Choose a habit that brings you closer to your goal and practice it daily for 21 days, without posting, without telling anyone. This will give you absurd internal strength. You will feel firsthand what it means to walk by faith and not by applause. You will realize that positive thinking, without discreet and consistent action, is just theory. But when the two come together, the manifestation becomes inevitable. And here comes the dilemma. Can you continue even when no one notices? Is your desire to grow strong enough to overcome the silence of non-approval? Because perhaps it is precisely in this silence that the true miracle is born. There is a strength that few people truly understand, the strength to keep going. It's not just about winning, but about insisting. Napoleon Hill made this clear in his teachings. Victory is often reserved for those who keep moving, even when everything tells them to stop. Insisting is a declaration to the universe that you are determined, that nothing will stop you. And that decision has more power than any momentary victory. Current culture idolizes quick success, immediate results, visible podiums. But true personal development happens through repetition, through daily persistence, through effort that no one sees. While the world applauds those who win, life smiles at those who continue. Because insisting transforms. Insisting shapes the mindset of success. Insisting creates deep roots, capable of sustaining any achievement that comes later. Think of Chinese bamboo. For years it has been watered without showing anything visible above ground. Only after a long time, it grows meters in a few weeks. But why? Because I was building a strong foundation. The same happens with those who insist. Even without apparent results, even with negative thoughts trying to sabotage, the person continues to water their faith, their self-discipline, their motivation. And when it blooms hard. To insist is to know that real victory is beyond what is seen. It's understanding that abundance and wealth don't just come from what you earn, but from what you sustain. It is an act of profound manifestation, which proves to the universe your seriousness. A dream doesn't come true in half. Anyone who gives up at the first difficulty does not show readiness. But whoever insists, they start to reap even before they win. And if everything hasn't happened in your life yet, maybe it's because you're just at the point where you need to decide whether you're going to continue or retreat. This is the crossroads that defines destinies. Because while the weak give up, the strong remain. And this permanence builds something much more lasting than a hasty victory. It builds identity. So here's a teaser. What's more valuable? Winning once or becoming someone who never stops? Isn't true power in those who decide to continue even when there is no more strength? When everyone would have stopped? Perhaps right now, as you read this, the universe is just waiting for one last thing. For you to insist a little more. The time has come to face the truth that few have the courage to accept. Either you learn to transform failure into strength, or you will always be dominated by your limitations. What are you going to do with everything you just heard? Are you going to let these words get lost in the wind, or are you going to use them as fuel to turn the tide today? Because the choice is in your hands, and that is precisely where your power lies. Will you continue to sabotage yourself every time something goes wrong? Or will you stop now, take a deep breath and decide that enough is enough? That the time of being a victim is over? That you have the ability, the mind, the spirit, and the discipline to build something great? Napoleon Hill believed that the entire universe bows to those who decide with conviction. So, what will you choose today? Maybe the failure you faced was precisely the call to discover a strength you didn't even know you had. What if all you lost was, in fact, a space being opened for something much bigger to enter? Do you really want to keep repeating the same limiting patterns? Or will you start reprogramming your mind, your energy, and your focus to finally manifest the life you deserve? I invite you. Start applying today. Take a piece of paper, write down where you fell, and then write down what you can do differently from now on. Then repeat, I am greater than any failure. Nothing stops me. Nothing defines me other than my decision to continue. Make it a ritual. The universe responds to those who act, not just those who wish. And now tell me in the comments, what was the failure that taught you the most to date? How do you intend to use this to your advantage going forward? Your answer may inspire someone else going through the same challenge. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel here and turn on notifications. This is essential for you to continue receiving videos like this, with depth, with truth, with purpose.